Good morning, Facebook family and friends and YouTube subscribers. I'm just getting up today. I'm having tea instead of coffee, trying to switch things up a little bit. So doing a little Lipton tea and lemons and honey, and my throat's a little sore from these allergies. So today again is Monday. It is May 4th of 2015. I wanted to talk a little bit about a situation that took place between Earl and I in the early 2000s. So in 2003, in the fall of 2002, early 2003, me and Earl started going through some very serious issues with our relationship. We were living in a house together up in Buckhead, and I made the decision that he had to move, and he had another house that he owned up in the Sandy Springs, Alpharetta area. So somewhere off Georgia 400, he had this home. We had a subdivision of houses that we owned, and he moved into one of those houses. Beautiful new house. So I was in Buckhead, he was up that way, but we were trying to hash out the issues between he and I and what we were going to do. So this is in the spring of 2003. I think he had moved out before Christmas, because I can't remember. But anyway, in the spring of 2003, we got into. I went up to his home, and he was supposed to come visit me that night. So we were going back and forth visiting each other, trying to figure this stuff out. So I had cooked dinner, and he was supposed to come over to eat dinner, and we were going to talk about a bunch of stuff. Because he was in the process of now selling that home that he was in. So since he was in the process of selling it, he was going to have to find some place to move. So we were in discussions, was he going to move back in with me or I move on to another house that he owned. So anyway, he called me later on that evening and said that he wasn't feeling well and he wanted to cancel the dinner. So I said, okay, fine. But something just was not right about this whole thing. I was kind of suspicious. So I waited till about later on that night, about 11 o'clock. So, keep in mind, I was 33 years of age, relatively young. So if I had been at 43, 44 years of age, I'd have had me a couple of drinks and went my ass to bed. So anyway, at about 10 or 11 o'clock, I got in my car and drove up the 400 to go see what was going on. Was my suspicions correct? Sure enough, I get to his house. He is there, and he has company. Okay, fine. No big deal. I knocked at the door, he let me in, and we started talking. I don't know, you have to remember this was in 2003, this is 2015, so that was a long-ass time ago. I don't remember what happened next, but we got into a major fight. Right, so we got into a big fight in that house. We was fighting. Little guy that was visiting Earl ran his little ass out the damn door because he's scared to death. So I saw him run out the door. Didn't even try to break us up. He just ran for cover. So we fighting. The fight carried on outside the house, and it just went on for a while. It was a fight. One of those terrible fights. We were already angry with each other about. He said he was mad at me because I put him out the house. I was mad at him because I had to put his ass out the house because of the issues that we were having. So, in the midst of all this, some cars get damaged. A broke window here, a broke window there. Stuff like that. So, I ended up getting in my car, and leaving, and left that area and went over somewhere near I was trying to go home, so I was somewhere off the Georgia 400 resting because, we've been fighting with somebody. I was exhausted. I was over there licking my wounds, tired, exhausted. A little bit, I know the police had been called and had came over to the home where Earl was, and I don't know how I can imagine how. Somebody told me my name, who I was, and where I was, all those other good details. So I stood over there on the side of the 400, and I never forget, I was parked at an office building, And I was sitting there. I actually fell asleep in the car just sitting there about an hour, hour and a half. And so finally I said, well, I feel better now. Let me begin the journey back to my home. So, as soon as I left that apartment complex and got on Georgia 400 heading southbound back into the city of Atlanta, a bright light, boom, beamed on my car, blinding me. And I was like, what in the hell just came out of nowhere? And it was a helicopter. And there was a guy on the loudspeaker over the helicopter, real low. Like, that helicopter was damn near on that highway. And he said, pull over, pull over. So I, of course, complied with this friendly person in this helicopter with this bright light. This bright shining into the passenger's, to the front of his car. He right in front of me. So I pulled over. And then all these police came, and I was apprehended. So they locked me up, and I was charged with, all misdemeanor minor criminal offenses, and I was taken directly down to the Fulton County Jail. So, that's still Fulton County up there now. Forever. They ran my ass on downtown with them hood rats in the Fulton County Jail. Well, I stayed there for a little while. I was there for a couple of weeks, if I'm correct. Because you had to go to court, you had to get the charges dismissed and all that other shit. But in the midst of all this, another county came forward and said, Mr. Hampton, we have a warrant for your arrest for probation violation from 1992. 1992. This is in 2003. So I'm like, huh? And they were like, yep, we coming to get you. So sure enough, when Fulton County let me go, after I resolved all my issues with Fulton County, the other county came and snatched my ass up, and off I went to deal with this probation violation. So the probation violation we thought would be relatively easy because it was a little bit of restitution. I needed to pay like $6,000 or $7,000. We was like, fine, we'll pay it. So the probation officer came to see me. We were talking and everything. He talked about where's the money. Could I pay the restitution? I said yes. He says, you have a lot of family members who people are very concerned about you, and I'm very curious what happened. And then I explained what happened. Maybe a little bit too much in detail, because I think when I told him my partner and my gay relationship and blah, 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 I don't think he liked those details. I'm pretty sure he didn't, because his eyes went like... So, he said, do you have this money? I said, yes, I have money. He said, you can get your mother to bring me that money. Her period is old. This is the amount. I want it as quickly as possible. Then I'll make a decision what I'm going to do. So everybody at the local jail, the county jail where I was at, packed with whites and black folks. Most of them was in there for probation violation. They said, oh man, if you pay that money, you going home. Officers too. Mr. Hampton, you're a good guy. You're going to pay the money. You ain't giving us no problem. You will be going on home. So I'm like, okay, well, let's pay the money. So I called my mother and called my attorney. And everybody's like, we're going to pay the money, get the money together and pay. And sure enough, a day or two later, whatever, the money was delivered to the probation officer's hands, and he immediately came to come see me. He came. So by this time, I had been in this second county now going on about a couple of weeks, because this wasn't something that was able to be resolved overnight. The probation officers don't be in no rush to come see you when you're sitting up in the county jail. They want you to sit there any damn way. Which, it wasn't a bad situation. Of course, you're in jail, so they were feeding and taking care of me, and I had some money on my books, so it was a little more, we played spades all day. What else did we do? Play spades and work out. We had a little workout crew, so we were in the county jail working out. So finally, the probation officer comes to see me. He sits down, he smiles, he says, yes, I got the paycheck, he got this, he goes over everything. I got the money that you owed for your restitution is all covered, all that's received. And he said, I'm sending you to a detention center. You're going to do some time. I said, huh? Yep, he said, you're going to do 120 days at this detention center. I said, really? And I said, well, is there a reason why? He said, well, you violated your probation. You were gone for such a long period of time. I'm sure there were other crimes that you committed that while you this. I was like, I haven't committed anything. He was like, doesn't matter. I have a right to send you to the detention center. I'm sending you to the detention center for 120 days, and you leave in the morning. And I was like, So when I left the window, because when the probation officer comes to see you in a window in a room, it's the pod that you live in. You just walk up to a table and sit there. Now all the other inmates are sitting around looking, wondering like, well, what's going on? Because all their lives are on the line too, because they want to know what happens to you may happen to them. So I walked away from guys and said, yep, he's sending me to the detention center. And the whole dorm was like, almost people were crying, like, we'll never get home. I'm thinking, oh, Lord. I said, yeah, they sent me to the detention center. They said, when you going to be waiting forever to get to the detention center? I said, no, he just told me he put me on the fast track. I'm leaving in the morning. He was like, oh, you go leave in the morning to the detention center? He said, man. So, of course, I had to hear all the nightmare horror stories about what this detention center was. Well, the next morning, sure enough, they woke me up early and threw me in the back of a police car with some other individuals, mainly white folks, threw me in and took me to the detention center. The detention center was located in South Fulton County here in Atlanta, so it wasn't like I was going someplace far. I was right up the road. It was right in College Park. So at the detention center, you work jobs. Picking up trash, working in the store, you work at various government buildings in the city of Atlanta. They pick you up, they drop you off, because you're in a detention center. So the whole purpose of the detention center is you're not really in jail. They just hold you at nighttime, but during the daytime you're out doing activities. Some under officer supervision, some not under officer supervision. So if you could fix cars, they would drop you off at Fulton County's area for that might car maintenance or something. Or if you could fix lawnmowers. If you had any type of skills, they took you where your skills could be used. They wanted me on trash detail because there was a lot of young kids on there. They wanted me to help them to keep those guys under control. I was 33 years of age. Most of the guys on the trash detail was 17, 18, 19. These were kids that didn't want to do shit. They didn't want to work. They didn't want to walk. They didn't want to do a damn thing. So we have to get up, get these guys motivated to get on the van. And, we wore these all white uniforms. I can't remember. But we would walk up and down I-285, I-20, 75, 85, 285, side streets, Moreland Avenue, any state highway or road or wherever they needed us, they would call us and we would go over there and pick up trash, walking for miles. Now, I didn't mind them all walking. It was hot as hell out there, though. But I enjoy it. I like exercise. I just count this towards cardio. Walking, picking up trash, just out there walking. We're not a quick pace picking up the trash. So that wasn't bad until everybody in Atlanta started recognizing my ass. Cars would come to a complete stop on the highway, and so people would yell out the window, Walter! And I looked. I was thinking, how could people recognize me? But they did. I would be on 75, 85 downtown. They recognized me. 285 way up near Cobb County. They would recognize me. Georgia 400, walking down the 400, they would recognize me. It didn't matter where we went. My officer would be like, they know who you are. You must know a lot of people in the city of Atlanta. And here I was trying to hide, put a little disguise on my head, little hat, scarf, do-rag. Them niggas still recognize my black ass. So in the midst of all this, don't forget, me and Earl are still in a relationship. So here I am, because this whole process took 6 months. From the county jail to the detention center, altogether, it was a 6-month experience. And me and Earl had to, every weekend he comes see me for hours. Saturday, Sunday, Sunday. It was I think we went through something that a lot of people may not have been able to make it through. And at one point in the process, Earl wanted to break up. I said, fine. We broke up. but he still kept coming to see me, and it was just a very complicated period to, when you're in a relationship with somebody and here you are locked up in jail, and people come to visit you every weekend after weekend, and you guys are writing letters back and forth to each other, sending cards, because it can be very complicated. And luckily, I had the guys that were at the detention center with me were a phenomenal group of guys. They were husbands, fathers, they had children. Everybody wanted to go home. We were only there for a minor probation violation, minor, nothing major, nothing serious. There was one guy in there for doing something to his wife, and he had to serve, his attorney worked it out, but he was actually serving 5 years in the detention center. So, instead of going to prison. So the detention centers are supposed to be an alternative to going to prison. So, you had a great group of guys in there, and it could always sense when something was going on, because everybody was like, we had this thing, talk it out, we all in here together. And, you had some officers who were mean and ruthless and nasty and would come in and do all kinds of shit to shake up the dorm. And, the problem was these young kids, 16, 17, 18 years of kids in there with these, they didn't want to get out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to breakfast. They didn't want to have their beds made up. It was just utter confusion with these kids. And the kids didn't care. The kids would tell these officers, I'm not getting up. So that meant that the whole dorm would have to stand there while they come in and try to get this young man up out of his bed and dressed. It was just a nightmare. This would go on every morning, because then this food started acting right, and another food the next day was acting up. They have to drag those guys out. They literally drug those guys out their beds and out their dorm in some place and beat them. The only thing I couldn't see what was going on. I mean, it was a very interesting, and it was what it was. Let me just state that. But majority of black guys, most of them were there on some type of probation violation for drugs, minor offenses, and they were in there serving 120 days to 6 months. That was the most of the sentences. And it was about 200 guys in the whole building. So, but one thing I can say is the food was damn good at that place. That food, they had a cook back there. Me and the cook became very good friends, because when he got out, he opened up a restaurant here in Atlanta. That man, he already had a restaurant here in Atlanta. He went back to his restaurant and reopened it when he got out of jail. That motherfucker could cook. That food was slamming. I mean, I got my ass up out of bed for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well, lunch, when we were on detail, was just a sandwich. But during the week, we had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that food was delicious. So when you got somebody in prison who know how to cook, and he's in control of the cooking, because he fed there were 200 inmates there, and then there was staff, and there were other officers who would come in and ate. We all ate the same food, and everybody said, this food is good. So I gained about, I ain't kidding, even me exercising, jogging, walking up and down the highway, I think I came out of there about 30 pounds heavy, because there was nothing to do at nighttime but eat. And then when they fed you big portions of food, so I can't say the food was bad. And then they had that fried chicken. Prison fried chicken is always delicious. I don't care what nobody says. If you at the right prison camp and they fry that chicken, you smell that chicken cooking, everybody races towards that damn kitchen to get them a piece of that damn chicken. So I just wanted to share that little story about the difficulties and trials and tribulations people go through in a relationship. Me and Earl laugh about this now. We laugh. But back then, it was not a laughing matter. It was a very serious matter. And it was something that we really had to get through, because we didn't know what the outcome was going to be. So, of course, the day I got out of jail, me and Earl had this great time together, back to normal. Everybody was like, I thought y'all broke up. We right back together. My mother was very, very angry with me about getting back with Earl. She didn't like that. She was pissed, because they felt like Earl was the reason why I went to jail. Earl wasn't the reason why I went to jail. I went to jail because I was up there fighting Earl, and I had a probation violation from 1992. I knew about it, he didn't. But there were a lot of angry people who, when they found out that I got out of the detention center and me and Earl were back resuming our relationship, they didn't like it at all. That's a whole other video. It's already 20 minutes. If you like my videos, please click like and share them with family members and friends. I'm about to get dressed. I try to get to this gym. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to get there early, drink some more tea. Anyway, but I hope you enjoyed my little story about my 6 months at the detention center in South Fulton County. Funny part is, I still see those guys from that detention center. Some are on my Facebook page as friends, and some of them I just bump into and like, they want it. I'm like, from the detention center. That was in 2003. This is 2015. Anyway, I'm out of here. Enjoy your Monday and give me your thoughts and opinions on the subject. It's a little long, but I had a lot I wanted to say, and I didn't want to really split it up into 2 and 3 videos. And there's a lot more to this, but for now, we're going to leave the subject, the story as it is there. Have a great Monday. I'm out.